Maria was my super idol growing up. She was it. I loved the way she dressed, and I was lucky to meet her.
There is a small silver trophy in a house in Manila that most people have never seen. It is not a Grand Slam. It is not a WTA plate. It is the Le Paris as trophy from 2014, the Under 14 World Championship in Tarbes, France. And the girl who lifted it that January was 12 years old, and her name was Alexandra Eala. That trophy is the object at the center of a story that Filipino social media has been telling wrong for months. You have probably seen the posts, the screenshots, the captions in Tagalog and English claiming that Maria Sharapova quietly, anonymously, secretly paid for Alex Eala to attend the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. It is a beautiful rumor. It is the kind of story a fandom writes when it loves a player and wants her origin to feel like a fairy tale. But the rumor is not true, and the real story of who actually funded Alex Eala's years in Mallorca is stranger, more grounded, and in some ways more moving than the version being shared, because a small trophy in Tarbes did something a wire transfer never could. To understand why the Sharapova rumor took hold, you have to understand what Filipino tennis fans were reaching for. Eala's rise has been so fast: a top 60 ranking, a Miami Open semifinal against Iga Swiatek in March 2025, a first WTA final in Eastbourne in June 2025, that the story of her early years feels almost too improbable to have happened without a hidden benefactor. Someone had to have written a check. Someone famous, someone who understood what a 13-year-old girl from Quezon City would need to survive at Rafa Nadal's academy. The rumor gave that someone a name, but the paperwork tells a different story, and so does the academy itself. Here is the tension that this video is going to resolve. On one side, a viral claim repeated on Facebook pages with tens of thousands of shares that Maria Sharapova personally and secretly funded Eala's scholarship through an anonymous foundation because she supposedly did not want the credit. On the other side, the Rafa Nadal Academy's own website, which lists Alex Eala by name as a featured example of its annual admission program. Two versions of the same story cannot both be true. And when a rumor attaches a specific financial act to a specific real person, a living, litigious former world number one, the question stops being about tennis and starts being about journalism. Because Sharapova has never claimed this. Eala has never claimed this. The Academy has never claimed this. The Eala family has never claimed this. Every party who would actually know is publicly silent or actively contradicting the story, and yet the rumor keeps traveling because the truth of how a Filipino teenager ended up training beside future Grand Slam champions in Mallorca is complicated, and rumors are always simpler than machinery. What this video is going to do, carefully and with sources, is show you the actual machinery. It is going to name the people, the institutions, and the sponsors who really did pay. It is going to explain why the Sharapova version spread, and it is going to end with a real Sharapova moment involving Alex Eala, a moment that happened in July 2025, a moment that was documented, a moment that is smaller than a scholarship but in its own way more meaningful. The evidence begins with the trophy. In January 2014, Alex Eala won Les Petits As, one of the most prestigious junior events in world tennis, an under-14 tournament that has been contested in the French Pyrenees since 1983. Previous winners include Martina Hingis, Kim Clijsters, Andy Murray, Richard Gasquet, and, crucially, Rafael Nadal himself, who won it in 2000. Nadal knew what the trophy meant. His academy, which he had been planning for years and which would open its doors in Mallorca in 2016, was designed in part as a home for exactly the kind of junior talent that Les Petits As identifies. Eala did not receive a scholarship because someone in Los Angeles wrote her family a check. She received it because she won a tournament that Rafa Nadal's own name is engraved on, and the academy recognized what that meant. The Rafa Nadal Academy's official annual admission program page names Eala directly as an example of what the program represents, not as a beneficiary of an outside donor, as a scholarship holder of the academy itself. But the scholarship on its own was not enough. This is the part of the story that gets flattened in the rumor. Even a full tuition scholarship at an elite European tennis academy does not cover the cost of moving a 12-year-old across the world, keeping her family connected to her, flying her to junior tournaments across 4 continents, and stringing her rackets. Somebody was still paying for the rest, and that somebody has a name too. It is Globe Telecom. Eala signed her first endorsement deal at 8 years old, 8, as an ambassador for the Filipino telecommunications giant Globe. That deal, documented in her Wikipedia entry and confirmed in her own social media, made her one of the youngest sponsored athletes in Philippine sports history. When she thanked her sponsors after her breakout Miami Open run in March 2025, she named them publicly on her official Facebook page: Globe Telecom first, the Rafa Nadal Academy second, 2 institutions, 1 Filipino, 1 Spanish, neither of them Maria Sharapova. There is a third layer that the rumor erases entirely, and it belongs to the Eala family itself. Alex's mother, Riza Maniego Eala, was a national swimmer who represented the Philippines at the Southeast Asian Games. Her father, Mike Eala, is a former national water polo player. Her grandfather, Ponciano Eala, was a senior figure in Philippine sports administration. This is not a family that stumbled into elite athletics. This is a family that understood from the inside what it takes to move a child through a national federation, into international junior events, and eventually into a foreign training base. The decision to send Alex to Mallorca at 12 was not made possible by a mystery benefactor. It was made possible by a family that had already spent 3 generations building the muscle memory of how Philippine athletes get to the world stage. Let me pause here, because this is the part of the story that matters most, and it tends to get lost in the noise. The Sharapova rumor is not just factually wrong, it is quietly insulting to everyone who actually did the work. It erases the Academy's decision to bet on a 12-year-old. It erases Globe's decade of financial commitment. It erases the Eala family's generational preparation. It replaces all of that with a single fictional check from a foreign celebrity, and it tells young Filipino athletes that the only way someone like them makes it is if a stranger with money notices them. That is not what happened here. The fourth piece of evidence is the graduation itself, and it is the one that fandom keeps circulating without fully understanding what it shows. In 2023, Alex Eala graduated from the Rafa Nadal Academy. Her diploma was presented to her by Iga Swiatek, who had been invited by Rafa Nadal personally to attend the ceremony. Both the Rafa Nadal Academy's official social media and the Olympics.com official coverage confirm this. If Maria Sharapova had been the secret patron of Eala's education, that ceremony would have been the natural moment for the connection to surface. A graduation, a tribute, a message, even a private letter later leaked. Nothing of the kind exists. What exists is Nadal congratulating her personally after her first professional title, and the Academy publishing her rise through their own channels as a matter of institutional pride. The people who are visible in the photographs are the people who actually paid. The fifth piece of evidence is the most direct one, and it is the reason this video exists at all. On a widely shared Facebook post about Eala's rise, one of the top comments visible in the search index of BBC Sport's own video coverage includes the phrase verbatim, secretly funded her to Rafael Nadal Academy fake rumor. Filipino tennis fans on the ground have been correcting this story themselves for months. The rumor is not a well-kept secret that this channel is exposing. It is a claim that has been publicly labeled false on the same platforms where it originally spread by the same community that first encountered it. What has been missing is a single place that lays out the full picture. The trophy, the academy, the telecom deal, the family, the graduation, in one continuous account. That is what this video is trying to be. So where does Maria Sharapova actually enter this story? She enters it in July 2025, and she enters it exactly once, and the moment is small enough that you could miss it if you were not paying attention. On July 4th, 2025 at Wimbledon, Alex Eala defeated Iga Swiatek, the same. Iga Swiatek, who had handed her a diploma 2 years earlier in Mallorca. It was a straight sets upset in the early rounds, and it detonated across tennis media. Underneath one of the Instagram posts celebrating the win, Maria Sharapova left a two-word comment. A star. That is the entire recorded interaction between Maria Sharapova and Alex Eala. No foundation, no wire transfer, no anonymous scholarship. 2 words on a public post, verified by Tennis Head's coverage, and preserved in Instagram's own archive. And here is what makes it matter. It is real. It happened. Sharapova, who almost never comments publicly on active players, chose Eala. That is the Sharapova moment. It is not the one the rumor promised, it is smaller, and it is true. The best authority voice on the actual mechanics of Eala's development is not a rumor page. It is Rafael Nadal himself, whose academy is the institution the rumor tried to write out of the story. In November 2024, after Eala won her first professional title on the ITF Tour, Nadal posted a personal congratulatory message on his verified social media, quoted in Olympics.com's official coverage. He congratulated her by name as a graduate of the academy and expressed pride in her development. That is the sentence that the rumor cannot survive. Because if Sharapova had been the true patron, Nadal would not have positioned himself and his institution as the ones taking pride in her graduation. There is a separate tier of authority worth citing here too. Tennis analyst Max Killam, quoted on BNC Philippines coverage, described the Rafa Nadal Academy as playing a key role in developing Eala's game. Not the Sharapova Foundation, not an anonymous donor, the academy. The one that shows up in every official document, every graduation photograph, and every one of Eala's own thank you posts. When you line up the authoritative voices, Nadal, the academy, Eala herself, Globe Telecom, professional analysts, none of them corroborate the rumor. All of them corroborate the version this video is telling. The stakes of getting this right go beyond one player's biography, and this is where the Filipino diaspora angle becomes important. The Philippines is a country of roughly 115 million people with a global diaspora estimated in the tens of millions. Alex Eala is currently the highest-ranked Filipino singles player in WTA history, and her run to the Miami Open semifinal in March 2025, in which she beat Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and Iga Swiatek in consecutive rounds, was the first time a Filipino woman had ever gone that deep at a WTA 1000 event. That achievement belongs to a specific chain of institutional investment, a national federation, a corporate sponsor that stayed loyal for over a decade, an international academy that took a bet on a 12-year-old, and a family that had done this kind of work before. When a rumor rewrites that chain and hands the credit to a foreign celebrity, it does something quiet and corrosive. It tells the next Filipino junior, the 8-year-old in Cebu with a plastic racket, the 11-year-old in Davao playing on cracked cement, that the path to Mallorca requires a magic patron rather than a functioning ecosystem. The truth is more useful. The truth is that a Filipino telecom company signed a child at age 8 and stayed with her. The truth is that a French junior tournament, won cleanly, opened a door in Spain. The truth is that a family with 3 generations of national athletes knew exactly which forms to fill out. The truth is teachable. The rumor is not. There is a vulnerability inside this story that deserves to be named, because it is easy from the outside to look at Eala's rise and see only the highlight reel. The years in Mallorca were not glamorous. Alex moved to Spain at 12. She grew up away from her parents, away from Manila, away from the language and food and rhythm of home, in a residential academy where the days were structured around training and school with very little in between. She has spoken publicly in press conferences quoted by Filipino sports media about how difficult that adjustment was and about the mental discipline required to stay when she could have gone home. Whatever the academy paid for and whatever Globe covered, the loneliness was hers to carry. Any story about who funded her scholarship that leaves out that private cost, the cost of being 12 and far away, is telling half a story. So we return to the trophy, the small silver piece from Les Petits As, 2014 Tarbes, France, engraved with the name of a 12-year-old girl from Quezon City. That trophy is what actually paid for Eala's years at the Rafa Nadal Academy. Not in money, but in the currency that mattered. It was proof of concept. It was the credential that opened the door in Mallorca, that Globe Telecom's decade of sponsorship kept open, that the Eala family's generational preparation had built her toward, that Rafa Nadal's institution ultimately validated with a graduation ceremony where Iga Swiatek handed her a diploma, and when Maria Sharapova finally did enter the story 11 years later, on a July night at Wimbledon, after Eala had beaten the same Swiatek in straight sets, she entered it the way it actually happened, with 2 words on an Instagram post. A star, no foundation, no secret, just recognition. That is the full circle the rumor never understood. Eala did not need a hidden patron to earn a Sharapova nod. She earned it herself in public on grass against the reigning best. If you have been sharing the Sharapova scholarship story on Facebook or in a group chat, this is your chance to correct it. Send this video, tag whoever posted it, and give the credit back to the people and institutions who actually did the work. Subscribe if you want the real machinery of Filipino tennis explained instead of the mythology, because the real story, once you know it, is the one worth telling.